Hello there, and welcome to the Kirkman Wrap-Up Show for February 15th, 2021. Today's show was Dreams of Joy, because Kirk had a dream that Warthog's girlfriend was dead, and he was very happy, and life was just better because of it. So, I am joined today by Andrew Augustus, a.k.a. the reporter on Kirkenoff, who interviewed DEC.
No, I didn't interview DEC.
Oh, that wasn't you?
That was not me. That was Buddy. I did the parody songs. So I had the pleasure of speaking with Murchison Mouse, Matt Carano, and Jay from Colby James and the Ramblers. So it was actually Buddy was the one that interviewed DEC. And we broke it up into 3 segments. So that's why now I was on hold at the end of the show and I didn't get through. So I kind of wish I had gotten through. I could have done some correcting. But if they take calls Wednesday, I'll try to get my way in.
Let me just go delete a tweet I just put out from the show account. Okay, and we are good because I tagged you in it, and I should have tagged Buddy Cianci. So the first thing, let's just talk about how they started the show. Kirk's has a dream about Warthog's girlfriend being dead, which is hilarious in and of itself. Just the fact that I don't want to say she owns real estate in his head, but the amount of time Kirk thinks about Warthog's girlfriend in and of itself is just hilarious, because she was at the live show at Jack's Abbey, like a year and a half ago now, and she just looked miserable. And ever since then, Kirk's been like just a miserable human being. And I think it's one of the funniest ongoing jokes.
How many Minifans are out there that there's someone that was only there for like a split second and just has more real estate in Kirk's head than they will ever have? Like, you gotta put
like I said,
it's just like, there she is, miserable. Okay, and she was dead, and we were all happy. Great start. I was like, this was a good day.
My favorite part of that first segment too is Mike saying, "Oh, I forget. I recently had an interview where you were mumbling gibberish.
I had a dream about you.
Kicked me out of the room." And it's like, oh, are we actually doing this now?
I mean, if we're gonna dreams, that could be an interesting topic. I think if you go into Mike more, how many dreams of Kirk does Mike have now that he's on his own?
You ever read those things? It's like, what do blind people see when they dream? Because it's like fully blind people. Like,
well, because you think about it, like they don't have anything. I don't know. They don't have really anything to go off of, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So just like, do they dream in? You're right. Do they dream in just darkness?
Yeah. So, but obviously Mike's able to see a bit, so that wouldn't occur to him. But it was just, I don't know, something I brought up. So today was Monday's show. It's a Mike show. Mike can't come into the studio without talking about cancel culture. I think it's specifically in their agreement that Mike needs to come in on Monday, and Kirk needs to allow him to talk about someone getting canceled that week. So
every week someone will get canceled, and I mean, if you ask Visionless Dave, I don't know if you've heard, I've been in the Huffington Post.
Oh, really? Oh, yes. Yes.
Every time I come on, I feel like I have to mention it now in honor of
we literally talked about it before the show. Yes. Yeah. So, yeah. So you were canceled.
I was canceled. I was working in politics, so that's why they go for when they can't get the candidate, they go after you.
Now, you had some tweets where you said some, I would say
really cringe. I'll say that. Like, yes. Were they out of taste? Yeah. Were they funny when I tweeted them in 2010? I thought they were at the time, but it's also a different thing. And I think every time, like, and what we're going to get into, like this Bachelor situation is whenever a situation like this comes up for me, I always go, where's the timeline? Because regardless, at the end of the day, things change, and what is socially acceptable changes. So at least when I'm judging someone on something they do, I go back to the time it happened and kind of try to think about, all right, what was socially acceptable? Just because I say it was socially acceptable then doesn't mean I approve of it now, but I won't get mad at someone for doing something back that was socially acceptable then. You can't do it by today's standards.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with that. So they talked about, on Blind Mike's free podcast today, they talked about Chris Harrison, who I had never heard of before. I've never seen. What do you say?
I said you're not a Bachelor fan then.
I've never seen The Bachelor. I've never seen The Bachelorette, all I know is it's either one dude or one girl who gets to bang a bunch of people, and then at the end she gets to choose who she wants to bang for the next 3 months before she actually leaves them or whatever.
Well, fairness, they don't have to bang until like the honeymoon suites, and there's only like 3 guys who make it to that, so they're only banging 3 people. Just a lot of making out, and maybe you only get the first. You got to get the honeymoon date. And then the privacy suite, the getaway. I know too much about The Bachelors. It's Bachelor Mondays for me.
So anyway, so the host, a contestant on The Bachelor this season, apparently a picture came out of her in a antebellum suit and an antebellum dress, which is, for those of you that don't know, pre-Civil War. It's like a sorority thing. I saw the picture, and I mean, I didn't see anything wrong with it at all. I saw it, and I just saw 3 girls in what seemed to be like a southern type of dress. Apparently it's super offensive. Apparently she needs to be kicked off the show, never spoken from again, and no one should ever acknowledge that she was ever a person on the show. So Chris Harrison went on some sort of E-News thing.
The Ringer, yeah. It was like the Ringer podcast, and they talked about it.
And he said, like, hey, let's take a moment, let's let all the facts come out, which is what Kirk says every single time when these things happen. They say, okay, let's not make a rash decision right now. Let's just wait till all the facts come out, which is pretty much all that Chris did. And next thing you know, people are yelling at him. You know, Kelly Keegs is writing at Barstool saying this is bullshit. I can't believe he would do this. He's my favorite host ever, which is like, okay, I mean, that's a little bit extreme. I mean, you don't know the guy personally, so let's take a step back there. And I mean, Mike had the reaction you think he would. He was outraged by it. I know for a fact Mike's not a big Bachelor guy himself. And it's just if to quote a great man, it never ends. You know, they're going to keep coming after people. There's always going to be cancel culture stories for the Kirk show and for Mike to talk about. Mike loves it. Mike loves talking about cancel culture. He loves it when he's proven right on these things. And I mean, it was just, I don't know. It was what it is.
So part of the thing is that I think what blows this situation up in the Bachelor world is because there were rumors that this girl Rachel actually won, and the current guy on it is an African American, and he's the first Bachelor African American. So this is where why it's becoming so big in the Bachelor culture. And the other part about it is that Chris Harrison historically never goes to bat for these girls. Like even when rumors come out, he always stays silent about it, and it's just like I don't want to talk about it because it's not his place. He's just the host. This was like one of the first times he actually came out in strong defense of someone, and I think part of this is the fact, again, my Bachelor knowledge coming out in full-fledged, is that there were rumors that Rachel's the one that actually wins this year. So there were rumors flying around that she was the actually winner of it, because this is all done and pre-taped, and we just the winner's already predetermined. So I guess the big thing that everyone's waiting for is going to be the after the rose, like when they bring everyone back and how it's all going to interact.
I thought it was still going on right now.
Yeah, the show episodes are coming out.
Yes, but they're not like in the midst of the competition right now.
No, they're all done with that. And for that, that's where all the frustration comes from the Bachelor. Now, did Chris say anything wrong? No. Like should he have to give up? No. The reason why people are offended by it is not necessarily that it was an antebellum party. It was called a plantation party. And that's where it's coming back. And I always ask, when I first heard it, I was like, when did that happen? They were like, 2018. I go, all right, that's a little bad, a little tasteless, but it's still not even then where it is we are now. Hell, you just look at Rhode Island. They just took out in Providence Plantations out of their name on the last ballot. And they think it was a whole big social justice win. So it's happening all over. I can't get mad at it. It's like, look, you did something stupid. Talk to the person to see if they actually have the views of it. Because again, I think Chris will agree. Kirk would agree even that the name calling, you're so quick to call, like Kirk gets called a racist, but he doesn't do anything he says, where's the proof? No one gives him proof because there is no proof. So it's just, you're so quick to label it. Now it just takes away from the term.
I think Kirk was right in the sense that he said, you got to know when you just need to just shut up. Nothing good when he accepted that interview, knowing that this was nothing good could have come out of that interview. He could not have said like, hey, you know, she's the worst person in the whole wide world. Then she ends up winning. And, you know, it's like, he just should have stopped after his first 3 words, say, I don't know. I mean, you got to ask her. I don't want to speak for anyone. And it sucks that like, it's difficult to speak your mind now if you're not in on a talk show or something of that matter. But I mean, I feel bad for like,
if you're on the right side of it, if you're on the right side of the argument, if you're on the woke side, you're good. But if you're not on the woke side, then you're done.
Yeah. And it was baffling to me that the interview, I forget her name, the woman who was interviewing Chris during it, she actually came out afterwards. I don't know if you heard this clip.
Yeah.
But I heard it on Blind Mike's show. They were talking like, she was like, listen, because people came out after her and said, you didn't go hard enough at this guy. You let this racist get away with all this stuff. And she said like, oh, he said these. I knew he would. I heard him say these things before. I was just surprised he was saying it in public. And I'm like, you heard him say what before? You heard him say, it's people a trial.
It's shady journalism and get quote unquote journalism. It's as someone who was a reporter, and like even me, if I wanted to go back into the reporting, I'd like to because I work for politicians. So there's that. I can't really be unbiased again. I mean, I've worked for both sides, but I won't be unbiased. So I won't try to be off on this unbiased report. It's just disgusting, the journalistic integrity to come out and attack an interviewee after you've had him on. It's you had him there, you had the opportunity to bury him, you bury him there, and if not, you're going to come out and do this cowardly thing and then cry foul when you get attacked by the Twitter masses. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't know much about The Bachelor. I mean, I feel bad for the guy. I mean, he did make millions of dollars doing this. You just got to be the face of the program, I guess, and just not try to piss anyone off because.
The big thing what that came of it is that he's not gone from the show yet. He's just that after the roast thing, they're not going to have him on, which I think is stupid because if you want to educate someone, why not bring him on and have the conversation in front of everyone? That would be a better thing. And that's where I think I'm attracted to the Kirk Minahan shows because Kirk wants people who disagree with him. He wants to bring on people with that opposing view and have that conversation. The most of the time is they don't want to have it because it's their way or the highway. So rather than bring him on at the end of the show, they're going to leave him off and then they're going to test the waters over the next couple things, like over the next few weeks, and maybe bring him back for the next one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Kirk reached out and wanted to have the Ringer person on. And I mean, the whole thing's just a big, I just can't believe this is news. Like the fact that this is a thing in 2021 is just like we're getting out
of office, so they have nothing else to report on. Well, the whole news cycle is thrown to shit.
It's just, I don't know. The whole thing's fucked up. So let's get on to the, before we touch on the DEC stuff, I just want to hit on the lost audio from today. So Kirk wanted Steve to cut up some audio from Kirkenoff from the interview with Matt J. And he didn't see it. He said he didn't see the text. And I think this just shows what a good mood Kirk was in today. I kind of consider it like the complete opposite of Friday's show, where he was in he was in a shitty mood and it slowly got better. But I think he was in a great mood all day today. I mean, he started off, with the warthog joke. He's going through. They're talking about cancel culture and all these people that pissed him off over the weekend. But he was doing it in like a fun manner. And I don't know if that's because he took some advice from someone who said, like, you need to make the show more fun. I don't know if the program director is the one who's doing that. But so Steve did not cut up any audio from this. And we've seen this before. We saw it with the death of Steve Robinson. And things, you can't have a more polar reaction than Kirk did today than to the death of Steve Robinson. I mean, I truthfully, I think Steve is swamped with too many things. Not too many things, but he's so swamped. I guarantee you, he just glanced over it quickly, and I don't think it was purposeful. And like you said, later on in the show, Kirk said, like, "What's that face for?" And Steve goes, "I can't believe I didn't cut off that audio." So I definitely think if anyone's attacking him on Twitter or stuff, it's definitely not deserved. He's definitely someone who, works hard. He's the best producer in the business. And all that. So, but
I was expecting, like, as soon as I heard I didn't cut it up. I was like, flashbacks. All right, this is to the point.
I thought it was happening too. Yeah.
And then as soon as I was like, oh well, there was never a tweet bury Steve, because Kurt, he would have had a tweet go out that said taking calls now to bury Steve, and lines would have lit up, and it would have just been another hour and 2 hours of it. And I think, as you were saying, with Steve's got a lot on his plate, like I don't even know like a microcosm of the secret project of how, like, I know they're interviewing a lot of people. And this Kirk and Off episode, I interviewed Murchison Mouse, Carano, and Jay from Colby James and the Ramblers. I had about 30 minutes with each of them, like 15 to 30 minutes of each of them. And to get that down into 20 minutes took me so long. So I can only imagine what Steve's going through on this project. At this point, like trying to edit it, get it together, get a storyline. It's so I can see that simple oversight. And I mean, I've been there when you're working crazy busy, you get a text and you see that first thing. I mean, he did listen to the great Ken and Curtis show.
Oh God, that was fucking terrible. We'll get to that in a moment after we talk about this. So Steve didn't have anything cut up, which I think almost it kind of helped the show, because I don't think they would have called Matt if they had the audio cut up, because Kirk wanted to react to the audio on the podcast. So instead he just called him up and said, hey, listen. And I fucking hate Matt J. I fucking can't stand this guy. I understand you just had him on your podcast and all this shit, but is there any, I swear to God, I was thinking today, he's worse than Rich Kelleher when it comes to this kind of feeding off of the world. What is he doing going on a Kirk Minahan show podcast 4 months after he quit the show and said, I don't listen, everything's too mean anymore? He's taking dumbass shots at me. He's taking, maybe they poached advertisers, all this stuff. Maybe now I can do my passion project of this shitty fucking podcast that no one listens to. I know he thinks that certain people would have listened to it. No one would have ever found this. No one gives a fuck about who he is. No one gives a fuck about his story. No one gives a fuck about his drinking. It's just to hear him like pipe himself up. He really does believe that he made Kirk Minahan. And that's why I think it goes back to this recent Hall of Fame thing with MHB and DEC getting all pissy on Twitter, is that they truly do believe that Kirk would not be in the position he is in today without them. They truly think they're kingmakers in this world. And it's just flat out false. This guy's a fucking moron. I mean, he's going on. He's saying, Kirk said, listen, you blatantly lied on the show. And he said, no, I did not. I misremembered. I've never heard that before. I've never heard someone like
You've never heard that excuse of the misremembering? That's like
I've never heard that before. Because if someone told me that, I go, that's fucking moronic. You lied. I mean, I'm sorry. Or I forgot, but misremembered something. What is this? Fucking I don't know, but it's this fucking moron. I don't know. He pisses me off.
It's so the thing is with this, and this is where I think Buddy did as good of a job as he could during that interview, simply because they're with the one thing of their show that I think that is a good. They take the wrap up and you get into behind the minute fan type of thing. So as someone who calls in all the day and all the time and that, you kind of get that cool little behind the peel curtain, what attracts you to your show. Like even me, I'm going golfing with a couple of the guys on next Sunday. I've never met them in person, but they're like, you want to go to the indoor range? So it's like, yeah, so it's good to get that sense of it. And with Matt coming on, I think the purpose of that, and I mean, Buddy's going to speak for himself for that, but I think it was definitely an interesting get, because does he make Kirk? No. Did he save Kirk? No. Kirk did it on his own because Kirk has all the talent. But I think it's always an interesting point of view to hear from the other side. And it's
he said this story for like over months. It's the same story. It's like we get it. Yes, you started listening to him when he was on EEI. You see similarities between him and Stern. I've listened to the Minifan show before. It was fucking terrible, but he tells the same story over and over again. And the fact that he's still telling it in 2021, he's still going to tell it in 2022. And the fact that he just straight up lied on this podcast and said Kirk was sending me all these texts, a flurry of text messages afterward, going after me. He just seems like he's in an angry place right now. It's like, who the fuck do you think you are to say that about someone? Especially when he tried to play like the cool, calm, collected guy. Like, oh, Kirk, you really seem like you're full of anger today. Is everything all right? because I'm the reasonable one in this conversation.
Which
no,
is
Matt, shut the fuck up.
And it's and that's the whole thing with him. And I think that even when you listen to it, it's not even like to get people to be like feel one way or another about someone. But when you get an interview, I think it gives an opportunity for the way that Buddy did it. And I have to give him the credit for this, is that he gave Matt his rope, and Matt had what his choice he wanted to do with it. And I think what was good about the interview was Matt came off as his true self. And any of the people, the detractors now are like, oh, it was better with this or that. And you go back to try to bring, because there's still people who like the Matt from it. There's still some people who listen, but as Kirky,
everyone who likes Matt is dead to me. So
yeah. So now it's like if you're listening to that, I think it's very clear and very easy. Like, all right, now I know this split. I got everything. You got a little more than what he's been saying too. And I think Buddy dragged a little more of the details out of it. And again, when he dragged those details out, that's where he hung himself in the conversation and made himself, again, as Kirk said, he lied. And Buddy in that situation can
misremembered.
He forgot. I mean, I'm a PR guy. That's a lie. I get that. I've used the line before too, but you look at what Buddy did, and Kirk got on Buddy a little bit. And I'm like, well, what else is he supposed to do in that scenario? Because he even said in the cut, he's just like, well, Kirk said you did this. So he did. It was like referring back to all he knew from it. He didn't know the full intricacies of it. And that's why when Kirk responded today, I mean, I can see why Kirk was pissed at points, but I still think Buddy did a good job on the solo interview. And when I first heard it before we aired it, I was like, yeah, it's going to get mentioned because he just makes himself look way too arrogant and like above himself. And that's where he is. He started the world. And I mean, you go back to the beginning of the Minifan show.
He did not start
the world. I'm sorry. Not that he started the world, but like when he got the Minifan show up and kind of expanded on it with this new Barstool spot where him and MHB started, it developed an idea, but it's been so much progressed over because again, a lot of people go back to what Kirk says on the show. And it's like, all right, he wants something similar like this idea, and it's grown. So was he an important part at one point? Yeah. No. At one point, you have to give him the credit that he was. But as soon as he took the turn, I remember because I'm doing the re-listen, and with the presidential elections, I just listened to the first one where he was voted president. People liked him at some point. He was producing things, and then he took the turn. And as soon as he took the turn and became dead, I forgot about him like in 2 seconds because that's not why I'm here. And I know that he's not the reason why Kirk's here. So
I just wish he'd go away. I mean, it's literally worse than the fucking stickers with Rich Kelleher. It's like,
do you think that this interview puts him away? I think it might now because now.
Yes, I think he should just go away, do a shitty podcast, and no one gives a fuck about.
Well, here's the thing about the interview. This could have been the final nail in the coffin that actually gets him to go away. That's a win for you, Justin.
100%. But I just want him to just go away. He just sucks. There's nothing he brings to the world anymore. No. The fact that he's still convinced that Steve was poaching advertisers from him.
Thing I've ever heard.
The wrap-up show is now looking for advertisers because if DEC thinks he's so fucking cool with these advertisers, and I have one rule: the Kirk Minahan show is allowed to poach my advertisers on KMS Wrap-Up. All the money's going to Kirk anyway from any advertisers I get, but Steve has free reign over anyone who would like to advertise. If you'd like to advertise, inbox me, email me, and the likes. So yeah, I mean that's all there is to say about DEC. He just he's a cunt. I mean, no one gives a fuck about him. I'm surprised he's lasted this long. But he's just clinging on. 99% of his interactions on Twitter is with Minifans, and the fact to say like, oh, my new podcast has nothing to do with the Minifans, then you look at it and you're like, okay, well, this guy was on this one. It's fucking moronic. I don't know. I just get riled up when talking about him because he just pisses me off to no fucking extent. So we got to move on because I could literally talk all day about all this shit. So so the next topic that was kind of interesting is the Ken and Curtis stuff. And when I say kind of interesting, I mean I wanted to fucking kill myself yesterday or Saturday when
I never got
was
through. I had 57 calls trying to get in, couldn't get through.
So I only called like 10 times, and on the 10th time I was put on hold so I could hear the show. So I was able to hear anything that could possibly get not out on the stream or not out on airwaves. So that's where I got the guy saying, like Curtis bringing around, banging around with the interns and stuff like that. I was never a Kirk and Callahan guy. I really never listened to the show. I know a lot of people did, but I can't stand Curtis. I think he tries to give off this better than personality. He's just the kind of guy that he just has a punchable voice, if that makes sense. He just talks like a douchebag, like he's better than everyone. I mean, I fucking can't stand him. It was a grueling 4 hours listening to that on Saturday. It was I could taste the oil on the barrel of the gun. It was it was close, but thankfully I persevered. So
I mean, when they're in the Kirk and Callahan days, I think what was so effective, it was just Kirk again. Is the kind of guy, like kind of how we did with Blind Mike at time, puts him in his place. Let's like Kirk knows he's a star, but Kirk will rise him up when he wants and then knock him down a couple. And the problem with it now, listening to like the little clips I've been hearing lately, is he now doesn't have that person that cuts him down, so he thinks he's bigger than and more important than. I mean, he's blocked me because I asked him, like, I'm blocked by Dale and I know Curtis for sure because I've tweeted at them. I'm still trying to get the Ken Laird, whatever, the snake. Every tweet that comes across, I see I always put snakes on it, but he hasn't blocked me yet. So I guess like half a credit just for owning up for that. But if for how he is now, you're right. It's pompous. It's arrogant. It's again, someone just needs to cut his legs off. And Kirk brought a great point up today, is that the superior who was proven to be having some relationship with the undertone, and the underling is gone.
Yeah.
And the superior's there, and he's like getting promoted from it. It's like, just from, again, I come at a lot of things from a PR standpoint, and just PR that looks horrible. It's like you're rewarding piss poor behavior. It's again what happens when you let. I'll just say it. The globe mentality seems to be coming into Entercom.
Oh, I mean, it's been in Entercom.
It's been there now, but now they're taking it from the staff room picks. When's the Entercom draft going to happen? Because that could be next.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I fucking can't stand them. I think it shows though too, because I do remember listening to early KMS where Kirk would say, I still like Curtis. He's kind of going on. Even when the Greg Hale show started up, he's like, Curtis knows this is shit. He's done a complete 180 on Curtis. Now he's on full on fuck this guy.
Well, he did a 180 on him. He just again.
Yeah, no.
Kirk, from what I've heard on the show, Kirk Minahan is probably the most loyal person you'll ever meet. But you cross him, you're going down on the shit list, and rightfully so. It's like you could have his back or not. And even when they didn't have his back, he was like, all right, that's fine with this. But now I'm sure part of the reason is I guarantee you Curtis would try to reach out to Kirk at points in the back end of things and be like, this is stupid. It was better with you, blah, blah. Try to kiss his ass that way. And then goes out on public raise and just does the 180. And now he's become a complete total sellout, something they probably told Kirk he'd never do, which he did. And he's just looking after him and throws Kirk to the side. So Kirk should definitely just throw it right in his back.
I mean, fuck those two. The show was absolutely terrible. They couldn't get the equipment to work at one point. It was dreadful to listen to. And those advertisers are tough too, because Steve wasn't lying when he said the majority of them are foundations or cars for kids or something that isn't paying full price for an advertisement.
Oh, God.
You hear every single commercial break. And it's fucking rough. It's rough. So
from the little snippets, I was trying to click in to see if anyone threw, and it was just, I'm like, nope, can't do it. I'm gonna go back to my relaxing Saturday.
Yeah, it was tough. So the next part I wanted to bring up was parody songs. The parody songs today, there were two very good parody songs, I believe. The Warden of the North one and the Murchison's Mouth Kirk Death List one. The other one, which apparently was quote unquote spiked. I don't know about you, but I believe Steve when he says that he never buries a parody song for content. He never says like, "Oh, this is making fun of me. I don't want to play it," or "This is making fun of a sore subject. I don't want to play it." I mean, I don't think Steve's the kind of. I think Steve was the kind of guy who would do that
at first
when he first started the show, but ever since then, I mean, he's 100% on board. He's not going to.
But I even think now it's like, especially with like All in the Minute Family bringing guys on and playing songs too. So I feel like at the end of the day in this world, if he spikes a song, it's going to get played somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's enough people in this world who pay attention to it that if Steve were to spike a song that was just bashing him but was good, Kirk would he would hear it one way or another.
Yeah.
And I so that's why I agree with you with the point, and he's not doing it now. But it's with now, like you have All in the Minute Family, who they're bringing on guys, they're playing songs every week. And even like a couple weeks ago, they were like, we want to hear the songs that got rejected. We'll play them and we'll see. It's just another like little check-in for it. And I think that's what the brilliance of this world that Kirk built goes down to. There's content on content on content, even to the deepest levels. So that way, if Steve does spike a song, now it's in the back of Steve's head. It's going to get played here, guaranteed. And it's one of those things like he's going to find out, and you can get the Kirk. It's like even today, I was even thinking about it. It just came to me now when we were talking about when Steve didn't have the audio. It was like one of those moments that it was like Kirk wasn't mad. You could tell he was a little disappointed, but he wasn't mad, which is like the big cut in the knife that my mom always tells me. When she's really pissed off at me. He's like, I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, I know. There was definitely
I think there's opportunities with the parody songs though, because look, there's places to play them now. There's like the Jason from Attleboro's and obviously the GVE guys, whatever the hell that means. I'm still trying to figure that one out. But when like those guys would play it and it would blow up, Ziggy, Ziggy's hands at the end of the day. If he had a song that was good and he knew it was spiked, he would call in with that song and it would get played. So I'm not worried about that happening anymore.
Yeah, neither am I. But I think people who are worried of that, are grasping at straws there when it comes to attacking Steve. So that's pretty much all from today's show. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to bring up.
How's the are you still studying trivia just in case Steve gets like a last minute?
So I'm actually putting together a mock trivia. I'm going to do 24 questions from categories I believe will be on the show. Obviously, you can't do like the celebrity mashup, and I will be sending them to Steve for the Friday show so they can go through the questions. There's going to be some geography, some hockey, some things that I think, just to test the waters, kind of what they did before the first trivia show.
How about what would you be okay? Well, I mean, now we can't because you're writing the questions. But I was going to say, why not have a thing on Friday's show, you against Steve, to maybe sway Jared's mind? Be like, hey, Jared, I know my shit.
I mean, I'm not trying to. I don't want to sway Jared's mind. I think Jared was completely right in wanting to give Steve another shot, and I just want this thing to be.
I want a bloodbath. Like, Captain Connors is a cheater.
He's a cheater. Yeah.
Like I just like you, I've been watching some reruns. He watch the eyes, watch the hands. Cheater as can be.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna put that in every single recap on in the description until they play him. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you, Andrew, for joining me. Listen to Kirkin' Off on wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Thank you to Steve. Thank you to Mike. Obviously, big thanks to Kirk. And I will talk to you on